Hi, everybody. Thank you guys so much for returning. And if this is your first time, I am Isabel.
And I'm Tamera.
And together we are the Mutual Minds Podcast. A lot has happened. And one of the most special things that has happened is that today is our 7 years together.
Craziness.
That's literally insane. I met you 8-9 years ago, and we have spent 7 years talking nonstop every day. Been doing this for 4 years, 5 years, and just we've been through so much in 7 years, and it's really just wild. How just easy it is for us to just keep it pushing, but it's just crazy.
Yeah. It's so crazy to be so comfortable with each other that we don't have to hide anything anymore. You've seen me at my worst, my nastiest.
Me too.
My vulnerablest.
Oh yeah, especially this year.
And we still love each other no matter what.
Always. And I'm so thankful for that, because I just feel like it really does come so easy to us.
Yeah. And I don't know, some of you might be new here, but if you do know us, you already know this, but we started out long distance, which is what this episode is going to be about. It's kind of like how we survived being long distance, because we were long distance for 3 years, which is kind of a lot of time to be apart, but there were some very beautiful moments in that. So that's what today's episode is going to be about. But of course, before we get into that,
oh boy,
like always, what is your peak and your pit of this week?
Okay, so I'm gonna start with my pit.
Okay.
I think it would definitely be, we're having car issues again, guys.
Yeah.
It has completely steered our life to the side, and in the worst way. And I feel like we've been trying so hard to just be patient and just try to keep living and deal with it when it comes. But I think it's been so hard because now we don't live in New York, so having a car, especially on the outskirts of Austin, that is your ride or die. That's really the only way that you can do anything in this city. You need a car here. And when you don't have a car, it makes grocery shopping so much harder. It makes exploring a new city so much harder. Today is our anniversary, and this would have been a lot cheaper if we were able to just drive to a restaurant and then drive through downtown or whatever. But we're going to have to spend so much money on just Ubers and stuff. And that's what it's going to have to be, because we want to still enjoy our anniversary, and that's a very important thing to us. But it's
having a car is so expensive.
It doesn't work. We have to get a tow tomorrow on top of everything that we're spending today. And then we have to bring it into the shop, which I feel like the price of what this is going to be this time around is going to be pretty hefty.
Yeah, my car is
sucks.
Making some crazy noises. The air conditioning stopped. There's a lot.
Every light is on possible.
Yeah, it just sucks because I think we thought coming to a city like this, things would be more simple and easy, because New York is a very hard place to live and to make it in. But just this addition of having a car has made our lives...
has ruined everything.
So hectic and so overwhelming, and it is so costly having a car.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we're realizing a lot about ourselves and what we want in this life, and we love Austin. We love it. It is so cute here, and we feel so at peace and stuff, but we're definitely realizing things. And now that we've been away from New York for 5 months, the feelings are creeping in. I think we were kind of just floating, la-di-da-di-da, and now we're wow, there were so many parts of New York that we miss, and we're realizing New York is a very expensive place to live, but honestly, our rent is, with everything added on, it's kind of the same price we were paying in New York.
We're spending so much money right now on repairs and gas, and it's just so much. And once one thing in the car doesn't end up working, it just everything shifts, because we're also starting jobs soon, which was so exciting, but it's if your car doesn't work, now you have to spend the paycheck that you just worked so hard on onto spending it on a car. And you're just like, it just feels like you're throwing away money. And I think the issue that we're realizing is that cars are just so unpredictable. Like, you literally can have a new car and it's probably going to last well enough for a little bit, but anything can happen. Even if you have a new car, you can't stop yourself from like hitting a pothole, and then you have a flat tire and you have to call a tow, and then you have to fix that, and then like anything could happen, whether your car is old or new.
Yeah, I think also why it's been overwhelming even more so is because Isabel's mom's visiting us this week.
Oh yeah.
And like, we obviously, to get around, we're going to use our car, and now we don't know if we will use our car, and then
she has to spend her own money on her own vacation to go get a rental car, and it just feels so frustrating because I don't want someone else that's like trying to visit me and have fun on their vacation have to spend their hard-earned money to then like be able to see you. It just like sucks, and it just feels really, really heavy.
Things are really heavy, but
it's hard.
What is your peak of the week?
I think my peak of the week is that it's our anniversary.
Yeah.
And I think that if I can just push myself aside and just recognize that like everything's going to be fixed eventually, even if I have to leave the car in the shop for a month until I have the funds to do it, it's still our anniversary and we still get to spend time together. Today we're going to go to a spot that we've never been to before. We're going to go to a restaurant we've never been to. That we've been there a few times for like DoorDash, and it's always smelled really good. So I'm excited to like test it out. But I'm also excited we're gonna go to South Congress, which is like a big part of Austin, and a lot of people like to go down there. So we're gonna test that out, and we're also gonna see the bats, which Baby's been wanting to see the bats.
I love animals.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so weird because I feel like the past 2 months have been so dead in our lives. Like, we've just been kind of at home and like not really experiencing much. A lot of it's because we're stressed and we've been like working on trying to get jobs and stuff. But also, it's so hot in Austin that we just haven't really been able to go outside for very long periods of time.
Well, but like before we were having car issues, we literally were just door dashing the entire day.
True.
Like, we weren't living. We literally were just going so hard, which was good because there wasn't much money to be made, but it's also like, wow, it's nice to sometimes take a day off and like enjoy yourself.
But I think because the past 2 months have felt like this, I think it feels like we haven't experienced Austin. But when I look at my archive on Instagram, like, we actually have seen a lot more than I feel like most people would when they move to a new city. But there's still a lot we haven't seen. So going to South Congress today, I think will be so fun just to get out, and there's so many cute shops and stuff.
Is that your peak, or what is your peak in your pit?
Oh, my peak in my pit is, I would love to try to think of a different pit, but the car is like has been so overwhelming, so that's probably mine too.
Yeah.
My peak, I think, well, obviously our anniversary, but I also am excited to see your mom.
Yeah,
and
she's always a fun time. She'll make things a little bit more silly.
And honestly, I think one of my pits, because we haven't talked about this on the podcast yet, is that I did get a job. And even though, I don't know, it's probably going to be stressful and whatever, it's 9 to 5, like, weekends off, and it's remote. Like, that is a job that I've been, like, hoping and wishing and dreaming for, no matter what kind of job it is. Just to be at home is so healing for me.
And by the way, we both landed full-time jobs at the same time.
Yeah, and we're gonna have basically the same hours, which is so crazy.
Amazing. And we both will have weekends off. So like, even though things are heavy, like once that starts and we start to like get back our money and everything and like get into our routine, I think life will feel a little bit better.
I also, for a pit, I hate that I'm right now just so confused about my life. Like, I feel like I go through so many periods where I'm like, should I go back to school? Should I quit my job? Should I try this job?
Should I move across the country?
Move back across the country?
Should I stay? Should I get a new car? Should I sell it? Like, literally everything has been a question mark this year.
And that is so overwhelming. But we've never experienced as much of change in our lives. Like, I would have thought, like, moving to New York would have been the biggest switch ever. but for some reason it wasn't. It was just super fun for the most part.
Yeah.
And coming here, oddly, has been more stressful.
So stressful.
It doesn't make sense.
It's never stopped.
Whatever. But yeah, I think that's what my pits right now is, just like I'm questioning every single thing in my life and nothing really feels right. And we're seeing on TikTok that people are feeling the same way, but it just feels so like confusing.
I think the problem, at least for me, is like that feels comforting that other people feel lost, but it also is stressing me out because everyone's at different like parts of their life, and I'm like looking at them and I'm like, oh, like they have it all together, and then they don't, and then these people don't have it together either, and they're like where I am, and then it's just like, it's like comforting to know that you're not alone, but it's also not comforting at the fact that like you're going to keep growing and there's still going to be question marks all the time.
No, I think when we like talked to your mom about this stuff and we're like, what the heck are we doing? And she's like, well, she just quit her job at 60 and like she's nobody
so
ever
confused.
knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And like that's just what life is. And I think that's kind of why you just have to go for what you want to go to. Obviously, you should plan things out, like don't go off of like impulse, but like this move was very planned out. You know, we knew probably from the minute we signed our lease that we were going to start planning to leave.
Yeah,
but
we were very happy. We literally moved here a month early.
Because we were
which
so
says
excited.
A lot. Yeah.
But now we're here and like things are becoming more normal, like our day to day and whatever. And now we're like, is this the right place for us? You know? And it's just like so frustrating that everything is a question. But I think the only way to know what you want is to try new things, and then you're like, oh, this is all I dreamed of, but I actually hate this. But at least you know that, and you don't have to sit there questioning whether you would have liked it or not.
100%. Most of you guys know this, but if you are a new listener and you like just found us recently, we actually met online. So we were friends online we had like a Stan account for an artist that we really liked. And we were friends for like what, like a year? A year and a half?
I think we like became mutuals on Twitter in 2015, and then that whole period was so weird. Like we started out just like tweeting each other, and like we were fans of Alessia Cara, and at the time like she was brand new, so like no one really like knew her much yet, so there was only like a couple of us that were like fans of her, and like we all kind of congregated because like there was just only a few of us, and we like all became friends, and somehow between 2015 and 2016 we ended up dating. It started mainly with this music festival where we met for the very first time, and we had such a good time. Like we had such a good time with all of our friends that we got to meet up with, but
I feel like we clicked like instantly.
Yeah, and in those coming months, like we would like tweet each other, but we were never really friends until I would say like a couple months leading up to the music festival. We just like got so close. Like we had FaceTime all night.
Like laughing hysterically. Like we would pull all-nighters like, and be cracking up at 4 a.m.
about the stupidest things. And I think you went to that little like summer college thing, and I think that was like a difficult time for you, and you were kind of isolated because
there's a lot going on.
You were in a dorm with like people you didn't know, and so I think like that was kind of the start of us getting really close because you were going through some rough times, and then I was going through some rough times. Yeah, and then
but we bonded over that.
Yeah, and then it was really the music festival that we really got close after, and then it was like 3 months after that we started to date. Yeah, officially.
And we did long distance for 3 years, which, like, saying that is so crazy because I hear like other people that are going through long distance and like they're like really struggling, but they've only been long distance for like a year or less, or like I hear people say that like they like see each other like once a month or like 3 times a month, and like it's so sad. And I'm just like, we literally saw each other twice a year
for like a week.
For a week. The longest we did was like 2 weeks, and I'm like, wow, these people are struggling like seeing each other like 3 times a month, and we literally saw each other twice a year. And we made that work, and it was just like, that's what we wanted to do because we wanted to be together.
Yeah.
It's wild.
But a little, like, backstory is I'm from Nebraska. Isabel's from New York. So that's, like, I think it's, like, around, like, 1,200 miles apart that we were living from each other.
Very, very far.
And I know people think, like, oh, I could never do long distance. I could never do this. But it really was, like, the best thing for us, I feel like. Obviously, there were some hard times. But because we started as friends online, it really wasn't hard to transition to dating online.
No, because that's just how the foundation began.
Yeah.
So it made it easier.
Because I think in general, it's easier to have, like, internet friends that you aren't around. And then when you're dating, obviously you wish you could be with that person. But because we were just already used to being not together in person, it just, like, was a very smooth transition. I think
FaceTime was our best friend.
Yeah. Like, if we would have been, like, in college together and, like, we were dating and then we had to split up, obviously that would be a lot different. But it really wasn't that difficult for us at the beginning.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's so crazy when I'm thinking about it, though, because there was so much going on in our lives, but it felt so easy to figure out. Like, I was in school. You were in school, you had a job, you were hanging out with your friends, you had an internship, and we still made time to, like, call each other and still go to sleep together. And we both had just so much going on in each other's lives separately, but, like, it was so easy to just make it work because we wanted to be together, which is crazy to me.
No, we kind of slayed long
because, like, even people that, like, live together, it's like one person, like, works a long shift and then they, like, break up because they just can't be apart. But I'm like, we were already apart, but then we were even more apart, but I feel like it was so easy.
Yeah. So I feel
crazy.
like us navigating a new relationship together, being so far apart from each other, I feel like was actually very simple. And I think it helped, obviously, because we started that way. But I think also because we both were in college, like, we did have a lot going on. So we didn't have time to just, like, sit and, like, mope over the distance. We just, like, we were so busy. Like, you were doing internships, too, on top of school.
Being busy, I think, helps a lot. But I also think a big portion of it was that our friendship was so strong.
Yeah.
Like, we had such good emotional connection that helped so much too. So when things were going wrong, I think that helped a lot.
Because we would, like, FaceTime literally any chance we get, like, any chance.
On
like,
my way home from work, I would park and then hang up, and then I would call you again, going to my night class, and I'd call you, like, it was just nonstop.
We would go to sleep together on FaceTime, so it felt like we were, like, together. I remember, like, I would go to my friend's house, but, like, I would go to the bathroom and I would, like, call you.
No, I know. I remember that.
I would, like, be in there and I'd just be, like, whispering. And
I miss you so much.
Like, when we say, like, any chance we got to FaceTime, we really did take any chance, because that's just what we had to do. To, like, I don't know, I think it was really hard because we just felt like all the time we needed to make up for the lost time. So it was, like, normal people would, you know, like, have phone calls and stuff, but, like, because you're together physically, you don't need to, like, be talking all the time. But because we weren't ever together, it's like we needed to extra be talking on the phone. And I don't know, like, I know it sounds crazy to some people, but, like, it really just, like, we made it work with what we had. Like, if we loved each other, which I think we knew very fast that we did love each other.
It's just crazy because we were so young.
I know, and people always ask, like, when, like, the first time we said I love you was, but, like, we genuinely,
probably when we were besties.
It was, so we didn't have, like, that moment because we had already said, like, I love you. Even if it wasn't in, like, romantic way, it was just, like, we had already said that, so, like, the meaning was, like, the same, because I feel like I loved you like I do now. Like, I always knew, even if we stayed friends, that we would.
So I think it was, like, a deep love for a friend, but then that, like, transitioned into a deep love for a partner because I cared about you so much as a person. And then that just transitions because now you're not my friend, you're my girlfriend. But it's the same love, but just, like, more.
Yeah.
And I think that's so special.
We started dating when I was 18, you were 19,
Yeah.
so very young. We were still little teenagers.
26 and 25
Yeah,
now.
today, on our 7-year anniversary.
That's insane. What do you think, like, kept us sane? Like, do you think it was, like, the FaceTime and being busy?
Yeah, so this is, like, the next part of the pod that we were gonna go into, of, like, how we kept things going, because I feel like that's, like, one of the bigger questions we get on social media, of sharing our love and our story.
Yeah.
People are like, how did you literally, like, how
No, because
did
it
you make
sounds
that work?
insane.
But I think a big thing was the constant FaceTime calls. Like, that's what kept me so connected to you, even though we weren't together.
Yeah.
We
Because sometimes
also-
we wouldn't even, like, say anything. We would just, like, go on pause and, like,
Yeah.
go on Twitter or something. But, like, I just needed to know that you were still there.
Or, like, we would both be, like, studying for school, but
just
we would
stare
just...
at each other.
Yeah, and, like, it just, like, felt like I could feel your presence there
Yeah.
because of that.
No,
And
FaceTime is so powerful.
it is.
Like, I can't imagine, like, back in the day when people would do long distance.
Write letters
If-
to each other. And, like,
and then
send,
we get
like,
lost
a
in the
black
mail.
and white photo.
Oh my god,
of
I would have
yourself.
lost my mind. I also think another thing that helped keep us sane was we would see each other and always would have another visit planned already.
Yeah, our visits had to be planned around the school year because we both were in college. So it was summer break, winter break, and those were the only chances we had because
Yeah.
we had to go to class the rest of the year.
But it held us accountable to make sure that the relationship was still going to be as strong as it was ever. And it also gave us something to look forward to, because when we would stop seeing each other, like after the visit was over, it was always so sad and so depressing and emotional. And it feels good to at least, like, be sad to say goodbye, but okay, I'm gonna see you in 6 months, which is crazy
It sounds
to
crazy.
say, but it's like at least that's something I can hold on to, so I can go back to school and, like, work hard at my job to, like, save money for the next plane and then see you. But it's crazy that we were even paying all this money at, like, 18, 19.
Yeah.
Because it is not cheap to be in a long distance relationship.
It's not.
But we were just part-time and just made it work.
I will say, though, luckily, we've had somewhat supportive families. So, like, I didn't have to, like, worry about a hotel. Like, your family actually, like, didn't mind us staying together. And then you came to my house. I think you only came to mine one time. Well, you came to Nebraska twice, but, like, anyways. We did get a hotel one time when you came to see me, just because we wanted to, and it was New Year's, I think, so we just wanted to, like, we were so young, we just wanted to, like, feel cool and, like, have a hotel.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think having families that didn't mind us staying in the
that
home
helped so much.
helped. But I will say, at the time, like, I was living with my grandparents, and I was grateful to live with my grandparents, but, like, I also wouldn't have felt, like, super comfortable, like, getting mail from you at the time, because I wasn't like, out to my grandparents and didn't really plan to be out to my grandparents.
That's a whole other thing.
Because I remember at first, when I lived with my mom still, we would send each other stuff in the mail, and that helped too. Like, getting a little package from your person feels
we
good.
would, like, put perfume on the letters and stuff.
Yeah.
That's cute.
I remember, like, our first Valentine's Day, which was only, like, 6 months after we were dating, but we, like, sent each other little packages with, like, a bunch of candy and, like, just
forgot about that.
cute stuff like that. Like, that really does help.
It's cheesy,
Things
but
going.
you'll always remember things like that. And we still even have, like, the photo book that you made, and, like...
You made that.
Oh, I did make that.
You did.
That's crazy, though. Like, we still have that, and, like, you could still smell the perfume and everything.
Yeah.
And it's so nostalgic. It's so cheesy, but sometimes the cheesiest things are, like, the most special things that you're, like, so thankful now, 7 years, having a picturesque memory of, like, how you felt at, like, 19 years old, and now I'm 26 and I wrote these things and I still mean that, like, 7 years later.
Yeah.
It's very
so cute.
special.
We also did a lot of, like, I would come visit you, and I would, like, bring, like, one of your hoodies home with me, and that felt special to, like, sleep and, like, be cozy in your hoodie. It just, like, things like... But I could go to sleep in your hoodie and, like, be all cozied up, and it would just feel like I was actually laying with you, and it smelled like you. Little things like that really did help, and it didn't make it necessarily, like, perfect, but it made it easier, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are like something we also, this is probably very niche, but one thing that we did a lot is we would go on y8.com and we would play badminton.
Oh my god.
You somehow were able to like connect your computers together and we would play badminton.
Yes, we'd play like together. Like you wouldn't be playing like a computer. Like you would literally be playing together. And like it's like stupid things like that like literally felt like we went out on a date to go play tennis together.
No, that like really kept us going. I think like that was like the last year where like we actually were starting to get tired of long distance and it was starting to bother us more.
Because eventually you just run out of things to say and there's just not much like activity that you can do. So we just tried to make anything work.
We're not big on movies even now that we live together, but we did also do that where we would try to start
about that. Oh my god, and it
the
would
Netflix
be like an
at the
echo.
same time.
One person would have to turn the volume off. Oh my god.
Yeah, you have to get creative to be long distance, but if you can do it and you have like the willpower and also just the love for your partner, I feel like when you like love someone, you will do anything to make it work.
Anything.
Because it's not worth giving up if you love them. So we were very creative and we made it work, and now here we are sitting in our own apartment and we have had a freaking wow. We've had, I don't normally cuss. That was kind of crazy.
That's my impact, y'all,
But
of the 7 years.
we have had a freaking journey because we, after long distance, we moved in to your family's house, lived there for 2 years. Then we moved to New York for 2 years, and now we're in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Crazy.
There's
like,
been a lot of changes for sure.
A lot. Like, as much as long distance is not easy, there is definitely like a lot of beautiful parts to it because one, it just shows so much strength that you are able to make something like that work, especially like in our case for 3 years, and there's people who do it even longer.
And then long term too. Like you can, because I feel like there's a whole other thing too of like, it starts out being like very bubbly and like honeymoony vibes, even long distance, and then it can get to a point where you can kind of like half-ass the relationship because you are online and it doesn't really matter or whatever, and then you could just be living a whole different life separately, and then you just come back to this person and you're like, hi, like what, like whatever. But I think it really was a huge testament to our trust to each other.
100%.
That like you would be like, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends, sleep over, and I was just like, okay, because I trusted you that that's actually where you were going, or if you were going somewhere else, you would just be honest with me. But a lot of people, I think, there is no trust, or they just don't know this person enough, and then this person is living a whole different life, and like they don't even find out for years later because you technically could just live a whole different identity online.
I guess that's something we didn't touch on, and I think it's so weird because I feel like the biggest fear in being long distance is not knowing what the other person is doing because you're not with them. Not that you can always know what they're doing when you're with them, but like it makes it even harder when they're like across the country. And it's so weird. I always forget to talk about trust, but I just like honestly never thought about trust like that.
It's a huge part of a relationship, but I think it just always comes so easy to us, like as a friendship and in a relationship, especially a long-term one. There is never a time, long distance or now, where I didn't trust you.
Me either.
Ever. It just didn't even come to my mind.
Because I feel like I've had more like insecurities being with you than I did when I was away from you. Which
because
so
technically
weird.
I could have just been doing anything,
and
I could have still called you and like been into some lady's house, and I could have still called you and be like, hey baby, like I'm doing this and this, I love you so much, and then I'm literally just like laying with another woman.
It's so crazy. I never had any fears at all.
I mean, maybe that's because we're both very introverted, but it's like even things like that, you could still say you're introverted online and you're not, and you're still living a different life.
I really think it's because we started out as friends, because we had a whole year of friendship where we actually just got to know each other
very deeply too.
Yeah, and again, we didn't ever think we would date because I didn't think you were even gay. So like we really just got to like fully know each other without even thinking a relationship was possible, because I didn't think you would ever like me as a woman. So I think that was really is being friends for so long and so deeply that
there was just no reason to lie, I guess,
yeah,
about anything. Because we had such deep conversations as friends that, to me, I was just like, there's no point in me lying where I am or what I'm doing, because I just felt such a like deep connection and honesty with you from the start that that just didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah, I also think, I think another part was just us being on FaceTime so much.
Oh,
because
yeah.
I think, you know,
That would
that's
be
probably
kind
a
of
big
hard
thing,
to like.
because we didn't like plan our FaceTimes. It was like any chance we got. Like I would go to class, and then as soon as I got out of class, I would call you. And there's sometimes where I got out of class early, I could have called you, and you could have been at someone's house.
And I picked up every time,
but
and I was so excited.
I really think that's probably where the trust came from. Is that there was never a time when we didn't answer each other's FaceTime calls, and we were never like doing anything weird or like we weren't ever with people.
And then when we were with people, we would like send each other pictures and saying like how much we miss each other and like I wish you would come back. And then you would literally go to the bathroom at your friend's house to call me, and like
I needed to say goodnight to you every night.
It was serious.
And then we were like so a marriage. Serious. And then we also had a time difference, only by an hour. But like at the time, you would go to bed at like 9 p.m. Oh my God. So it's been ruined. If I didn't call you at my friend's house to say goodnight at a certain time, you would already be out for the night. And then I would feel sad because you didn't say goodnight to me. That's crazy. So that was like very important, is like the FaceTime calls.
But I do think a big portion of our relationship now, because we were long distance, is the importance of being together and having quality time together. And now in our relationship, I feel like that quality time is so important that it's like going into like our job schedules and making sure that we have the same days off. And like obviously that's very hard sometimes when you're doing two different professions and some person has to like stay out late and then come home late or whatever the case may be. But like that has been such an important portion of our life for the last few years of like, we need to at least have like the weekends off, or we need to work the same job so that we are within the same hours or whatever the case may be, so that we have those days to like be together. Because I never wanted to like work a job and then never see you, because then I would feel like I'm long distance again, and then I don't even know you when I'm coming back home.
That's what it felt like, at least. I think like obviously being together in any degree is better than being across the country, but I think because that was such a big part of our life for 3 years,
it was painful like, too.
So important to us that we get time together. And like, I'm not gonna like say this isn't true, but we definitely have some, I would say, codependency issues.
Oh, for sure.
We love being together, but I think that also stemmed from the fact that we couldn't be together. And I think like we feel like we constantly need to like cherish every moment together.
That's probably why we decided to work together and do this together, because now we just always have to be together in order to do this, which I love.
We like used to have to survive without each other, and I think because we are together, we just like are so grateful for every moment. And that's another thing that comes with being long distance. That's a good thing, is that you get to miss each other. And now that we are together every day, we kind of wish that we could miss each other a little bit.
We need to miss each other a little bit more.
That helps the relationship grow, and it keeps the spark going. When you're together every day, things just like, you don't have anything to talk about.
But that's why I'm so excited for us to both start our jobs and like to be living kind of two different lives, but then we get 3 days together, and then we can spend those days to just relax and like come back to ourselves. But we also get to have that separation, that healthy separation, so we're not like always so tight knit. Because I feel like right now it's been hard because we've been like almost too close to each other, that I feel like it's like hitting walls. But I do feel like once we separate and start our jobs and like have the weekends together, I think that's going to be a really special thing for us to have.
And also I think a big part is that we also just moved to a completely new city.
So there's been so much change.
We don't know anybody, so naturally we just feel comfortable talking to each other, which definitely need to work on that, but also I think it's just a part of like the journey and our past and how we got here today. So yeah, I don't know, but we definitely learned a lot doing long distance. We learned how, I think the biggest thing is we learned how to communicate with each other, because
Oh yeah, you cannot expect your long distance relationship to work if you're not communicating about literally everything, because you don't know what the other person is doing. So if there's something that you don't like, or there's going to be a lot of uncomfortable conversations. I think that was something that we did struggle with. We had a lot of like, not a lot, but I just feel like we've grown so much. I feel like we used to have conversations and it just felt so
it felt like
heavy
we were, like,
and
fighting
and almost awkward, because if you were fighting on the phone, there's no like rekindling of like hugging each other and like, or just like being silent and cuddling and watching a movie. You're literally just arguing on the phone, and no, you either just hang up or you just stare at each other and don't speak. Whereas now, if we're gonna like argue or like fight about something, at least like we can rekindle and like hug each other and like hold each other. And like sometimes like when you're upset about something, you don't want me to like come back and like say something. Like all you need is like a hug, and you just want it to be silent. But like if you're silent on the phone, it just feels like the silence feels very intense.
Yeah, I do remember like a very few, like, we're also not people who like actually get into fights. Like if anything, it's just like little like bickering. Yeah, it's not like about anything like very serious most of the time, you know. But I feel like I do remember like a few moments where like we were just like, all right, well, like let's just hang up because I don't know how to resolve this, and we would just hang up.
And then it's just like,
but then we would hang up for like an hour or two, but then it's just like, well, now
we
we're just
call
not
each
talking.
other, and then we're both like sobbing, and we're like, God, I'm so sorry. Like, it's just so intense. It's like the most intense hour, and we're both just like sitting in our rooms, just like,
and we know
in
that
silence,
because we both lived with our like families, so we are both just cooped up in our rooms.
And you would call me, and like there'd just be tears streaming down your face. It's just so crazy. Like I literally, it just reminded me, because like from the moment I woke up, especially on a day off where I didn't have school or anything, I would literally just be talking to you for like 10 hours, and my mom would have to scream that like dinner's ready, and I'm like in my pajamas, and I like haven't talked to my family, I haven't eaten anything. I'm just like cooped up in my room in the dark, and I'm just talking to you.
Partially that's just like a teenager thing.
Oh,
especially nowadays, I feel like all teenagers just like stay in the room all the time, but like because we were trying to keep up with this relationship, it was so serious that like
my family never saw me. I was like the door closed, locked, and I was just speaking to you for like 10 hours straight about absolutely nothing. And then I would like come down for dinner, and I would eat, and then I would throw the dishes away, and I'd come back up and I'd call you again. Like it was intense. It was serious. But I love that. And I think that's the most special thing about how our relationship started, because I think it just shaped us to how we are now. And I think because of that, we cherish literally everything in our relationship. And I think our communication is so good now. And I think our relationship would be so different if we never did that. I don't even know if we would even still be together. That just built so much strength, so much trust, the communication, everything.
No,
I think it shaped us.
I literally wouldn't change anything about our journey. And I know like a lot of people like question people's relationships, like today, like something I've been thinking about is like, wow, 7 years together, and like I know most people are like, why aren't you guys married, or like why aren't you getting married? But like I think this has just been a part of our journey, because we wouldn't have gotten married while being long distance. We had never lived together before. And then I moved in with your parents. We didn't want to get married living in your parents' house.
Was that at 4 years? That was at 4 years.
At 3.
But
it was until almost.
So we've only been like
years.
living on our own for like 3 years.
2 years, yeah.
2 years.
2 years, just New York.
So that's like a whole nother like portion of the relationship.
Yeah,
I feel
there's
like
just so many layers to a relationship that like
it reminds me of like, not to like name drop anybody, but it like literally reminds me of like Gray and AJ, and how they've been together for so long,
but they're so
but
young.
they're so young, and people are probably like, why are you guys not married? But it's like
had
they
just started living together.
Yeah,
it's
and
really
like
crazy
you
concept.
can be together for like 9 years, but like the year that you first start like living alone together, you're learning each other in a whole different way, and then it's like your relationship is starting over because you're like, holy shit, I didn't know you were this dirty, and I didn't know you did this and this, and you like tennis, and you like to watch this. Like, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
Like, you just learn so much about a person, because like we moved to New York and we were already dating for like 3-4 years, and I just didn't, there's so many things that I just never saw from you that I was like, whoa, wow, I didn't even know you like that, or I didn't even know like that's how you felt about this or that. And it's so cool that like you can be together for this long and still be learning new things.
Yeah, it's also different living with like your parents, because you obviously naturally are going to hide other parts of yourself, because you're not just living with your partner, you're living with someone else's family too. So that was like a whole different thing. Yeah. But yeah, I think after living in New York, we were like, okay, wow, we have like this flow of things. We both honestly are very messy, and we learned a lot about each other living on our own. But like what you said, I feel like every like 2 years something has changed in our life.
Even right now, I'm like, wow, okay, like everything is just like questionable. Not like about our relationship, but I'm just like, wow, I didn't know you felt like that. Or like you to me, like, oh, I think you would be really good at that. And I'm like, really?
Yeah. No, we're constantly...
And it's crazy.
That's another thing of just being together for this long. Like, we're constantly learning things about ourselves individually.
Yeah.
And then how that affects our relationship is like a whole thing too. Mm-hmm. Where, literally, I know we keep bringing up New York, but like, we left New York at a time where I was so depressed. Like, I couldn't have survived another minute there. Like, every day I was like, how can I leave this place?
And I thought this would be so picturesque, perfect for you. Yeah. And I think in some ways it is, but in some ways I'm like, wait, maybe this doesn't make sense for you.
And like, I think another thing was that you were fine in New York, and I feel like there are parts of it that were frustrating, because they're frustrating for literally everyone that lives there, but like, you weren't where I was mentally, and so then I kind of felt like bad because you were kind of compromising, and I know you didn't mind, because the main goal is to be together. Like, we will compromise for each other until the end of time, you know. That's just how a relationship works. But I don't know, it's just so weird how we had such different like views on New York, and now that we don't live in New York, I myself am like, well, dang, I kind of want to live there again.
It's crazy.
But I have a different approach than I did when I first moved there, because I felt so much younger when I lived there. Yeah. And even though we've only been away from New York for like 5 months, I just feel like in this past 5 months, I have grown so much.
It's crazy how much you can change in just 5 months, let alone a year.
It's so crazy. But we're just constantly growing, learning about each other, learning how to navigate the world and as a couple. And it's going to be like this until the rest of time.
Until the end of time.
That's just
stressing
life.
And change. But no, I love our relationship, and I'm so excited to go out and celebrate us tonight. And I'm just so thankful that we were able to find love like this so young, because I know there's a lot of people I see on TikTok that are like struggling so bad with like
it's a spider.
Yeah. With just dealing with love, and like just being confused, and like people not being truthful, and just like you feel like you're wasting so much time when like people are not like trustworthy and not honest, and are like degrading you, and are just not, it's just not love. And I'm so thankful that we were able to just find that, and it's just been so easy, and hopefully it's this easy forever. Obviously there's going to be moments where things are hard, but I'm just thankful that we were able to find this type of love.
Me too. I literally wouldn't change our story for anything. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We just really wanted to touch on long distance in like a speaking platform because we've talked about it a lot before, but for people who are new to the podcast and wanted to learn a bit more about us, like this was a huge part of our story, is starting out long distance and meeting on Twitter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any other questions about long distance or how we made certain things work, feel free to message us on Instagram because we are open books about literally everything. But yeah, thanks for listening to this episode. Don't forget to follow us on Mutual Minds and Isabel, Tamera on literally everything. We will see you guys next Wednesday.